Wow.
Wow, this is some really deep stuff.
I don't know what just happened, but something happened inside of me. Something snapped. Something.
I wasn't expecting that
either. Sorry.
It's okay. It's all right. It's beautiful.
Monster is like really small, but it had to become that to stop me.
And then the hurt child became present when you mentioned it.
And I didn't realize this until now.
There were things that I didn't remember until now.
Funny. I haven't seen that before.
It feels like I'm the monster. I'm kind of seeing images of things. Of a world where they can exist. This clarity brings all kinds of answers.
It's clear. She hugged me and then went back to her place, I guess, in my heart. Oh, it wants to come out. It wants to bippity boppity boop Cinderella me. She's melted into my chest. It's ooey gooey.
All week been finishing things, cleaning up more, started eating vegetables again last week. And it kind of just started happening. It's almost like I just finished going through a meditation session.
I feel light. When you hit that first joint, in the morning, and
I actually feel a lot more awake.
All right. Do you have any parts that you'd like to get to know better or change your relationship with?
In the end, it always comes down to both, and today I'd like to get to know better because over the course of the last episodes, it's been especially about self-responsibility, being exhausted and so on. I'd like to get to know, because of that, the part in me, or a part in me that's a victim.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So how do you notice that when it comes up? Are there specific times that it's stronger than others? I mean, you don't have to share details, but I'm just kind of wondering what the context is.
Sure. In regards to work, I already, the last episodes talked about it in between the lines, I guess. And it comes up a lot mostly it comes up in interrelational situations, when I'm with others, that I always put others before me, but also, to be honest, I'm also making myself also quite a bit a victim, because in the end, it being about self-responsibility, after all, in the end, we're all, let's say, the result of our own doing. So, a specific scenario would be, because we changed this conversation to 1 week later than originally planned, because I was in Madrid in Spain, and I was for these days with a friend from Italy who I haven't seen since before the pandemic started, and how should I put it, with not really having been able to set boundaries. At first, it was I was shocked by what a really completely, unfortunately, completely negative person he is, and I just couldn't handle that constant negativity, because him trying to bind with people through that negativity, and also being really focused on being honest. To be honest, I wanted to just tell him that I just can't handle that, but being a friend of mine for a few years, I didn't want to hurt his feelings. So basically I was not wanting to hurt his feelings, but not being able to tell him that I need more time for myself. This
Right.
4 days, and because also I should put it on top of that negativity. Also, what I didn't realize last time I saw him before the pandemic, that he's an incredibly needy person. So basically, he also on top of that, so like that I couldn't just tell him that I need some space for myself as well in these days. Also, basically, he was sticking to me like glue.
Yeah. Okay.
Which complicated this whole thing. And so basically, let's just say in this like a perfect example for that, I was a victim of my own doing. I couldn't do better in that situation, but in the end, talking sober about it, I was a victim of my own doing. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like, as you pointed out, there's this part that puts others first, as you're calling it, and then afterward, or sometime in that same system, you have the part of yourself that feels kind of a victim in those situations.
Exactly, yeah, because so basically, I tend to not tend. Honestly, for all of my life, I've always been putting others first, and with this putting others first, because only a part of me wanting to put others first, other parts in me then feel like a complete victim.
Yes.
Like this.
Okay, so, and I think it's great that we should meet all these parts, and we should get to the part that feels like a victim. I will suggest, and feel free to take this suggestion or not, that we start with this part that puts other people first.
That's an excellent plan.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe you can just try tuning into that. Maybe even just kind of putting yourself back there and that time you were with this friend of yours, and just think about how that comes up in you and where you notice that in or around your body.
In my body, around the left side of the heart chest area, and on the at the left shoulder blade on the back, at the, let's say, a bit on the lower side of the left shoulder blade. But also I noticed my right hand vibrating and moving in really tiny circles, like all of the limp parts of the right hand.
Okay. And are there any kind of like messages or any other sensations that come up around that? Does it have something it tells you?
I just noticed now more sensations. On the left side, it's also going up the left side of the neck from the top part of the shoulder, like all the way up to that. Actually, that's all the way up to the crown of the head. But it's like I should put it like a tiny line, like along this string of the trapezius muscle going all the way up. And messages, like one message that intuitively came up, that I was really great, or am really grateful that I had the opportunity to meet him again, and that like even though this already passed, there's with this another message saying that I hope that it's as great of a time as it used to be before we last saw, before the pandemic started.
Yes. And does that feel like it comes from the same part, the part that puts others first?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like that part has kind of an optimism or a desire to connect with people in a certain way.
Absolutely, to connect and to be loved.
Yeah. And how are you feeling towards that part now?
Sorry?
How are you feeling towards that part?
Empathetic.
All right.
And because, to be honest, until now, I never tuned into that part. So now I feel grateful for it existing as well.
That's great. That's great to hear. All right, so let it know all that, and just let it know that you'd like to know a little more about it. Just ask it to tell you whatever it wants to tell you, whatever it wants you to know.
Yeah, that's a very optimistic part because, to be honest, consciously, in day-to-day life, like people always tell me that I'm a very optimistic person, but consciously in day-to-day life, I never noticed that optimism myself. So now I was, to be honest, surprised about it being that optimistic, and it responded to me like, well, yeah, of course, we only have this one life, so why not enjoy it with people?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so you were saying, you were saying that this part always comes up. It's always there with others, and sure enough, it sounds like that's what others are reporting. They're saying that they're seeing that optimism.
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like a very pro-social part, and I don't mean that as a moral judgment. I just mean that as what it does.
Yeah, that's like a really strong social part. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Great. And how does it like doing that job? You could ask it to tell you more about its experience doing that.
Well, it loves getting to know people, talking to people, meeting old friends, new friends, or making new friends. And so it really enjoys the social part.
Mm-hmm. And how long has it been doing that?
It can't really tell me a period, but the instant response was basically as long as I can remember.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what's it afraid would happen if it didn't do that?
That I'm gonna be lonely and not have anyone.
Yeah. Okay.
But it told me that it's not sure if it's the one I want to talk to because it at least consciously doesn't put others first.
Yeah. Can I say more about that? I'm not sure I quite understand.
It meant it's not putting others consciously first because it just wants to create a good time for them when they're with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, the concern if it didn't do that is having that loneliness and not having anyone around.
That's true.
Yeah. Okay. Does that all make sense to you?
Absolutely. I also then asked it, what if then we how should I put it, if then we get like, let's say, the shorthand of the stick when we create the best experience for others. And well, it was like, or is like, how should I put it? Sort of like that is part of the deal.
That is part of the deal?
Exactly, like that the
Right.
chat, like to for example, to get exhausted or any other, let's say, negative consequences are part of the deal.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. I have parts just like that. They say trust people and be generous, and yes, people will take advantage of that, and still worth it, right?
Yeah.
Great. So see if you can show this part some appreciation for protecting you in the way that it does from not having anyone, from that feeling of loneliness.
It's appreciative of my gratefulness, but to be honest, another part in me was hurt by that I should accept that as part of the deal.
Another part in you is saying that you should not accept that's part of the deal, the negatives.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. See if you can just ask that part, thank that part, and just ask it if it will step back and that we just want to get to know more about this part for now.
Mm-hmm.
So you're able to do that?
It's not completely stepped back, but it stepped back a few steps back. So it's still like it's still in the vicinity, but it's not gone.
Okay, that's all right. I know you said that this part likes doing its job, the optimistic, connecting with people part.
Mm-hmm.
Try asking it if it didn't have to do it so much. Let's just say if it didn't have to protect from the feelings of loneliness and not having anyone, would it like to do anything different with its energy? If you could solve that, take away that fear that it has.
It because it really enjoys the sociability and it enjoys that basically everyone usually likes it. Because of that, it doesn't really want to do, put it like a different job in terms of what it's doing, but it would like to do it with different intentions.
Yeah, what does that mean? What does that look like for it?
Like some time ago, we talked about the emperor energy. It would like to use the sociability in order to help me build with the emperor energy.
With the emperor energy?
Being this really strong energy in me that basically can build anything. Let's say build empires.
Right. Okay. So just to see if I understand. So it's saying if it was more intentional, it feels like it could help you achieve greater things.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Me too. Great. Okay. Well, is there anything else that this part wants to share with you, or has any concerns, anything to tell you about other parts that it's, maybe battling with, or anything else that it wants you to know while you have its attention?
It's not saying about battling or something, but it's suggesting that we should see if we can connect to the lonely part that it's protecting.
This is a wise part.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Okay. And does it trust you to do that?
Yeah, the social part, this optimistic part, really trusts me to do that. But it was really saying it as that we should see if we can connect to it. So it seems like it's not sure that we're able to
come back and be with it.
Do you mean
when you said come back to it? I'm not sure. Come back to what?
I meant basically the social optimistic part was saying that we should see if we can connect to the lonely part. So basically, like it's not like it's trusting me that we should definitely try it, but it's not sure if we will be able to actually connect to it.
Yes. Well, it might not have seen you do that before. It might not have any reason to trust that you can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'll speak to it from my perspective. I really want to encourage you to keep doing this work and to connect with that, and I hope that you do make that a goal of yours. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I'll let it know. I'll try my best.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if you don't feel like there's a lot more to talk about with this part right now, then we could shift to this other part that feels like it's victimized. It's a victim when this part does the work it does, and well, maybe it's the part that feels like it gets the short end of the stick or is a victim. Would you like to shift there?
Yeah, let's shift there.
Okay. And I haven't forgotten this lonely exile.
Mm.
All right. So going back to this part that feels like a victim,
Mm-hmm.
where do you notice that in or around your body?
Also mainly on the left side, but more at the solar plexus. Like I feel a bit of, let's say, like a very poignant, like a stinging sensation on the left side of the heart chest area as well, but closer to the center of the chest. Okay. But it's a more like a larger area of the sensation and less stinging, more like a numb. It's a little bit of a numbness at the solar plexus. And what I noticed then also was that my whole right arm started to twitch when you asked me.
All right. Yeah, you just let that part know that you're really feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
And how are you feeling towards it?
Compassionate, because I already before our call also could already just let it express, because before today I couldn't really have it expressed to myself. Mm-hmm. And basically so yeah, in the end I'm compassionate, and like one big deal for this victim part is basically, or one question is, how should I be able to put borders to other people when I ignore my own borders?
Okay. And when it's saying it ignores its own orders, is it referring to itself as a part, or is it saying, like, whose orders is it ignoring?
Basically, how should I put it, borders in multiple ways, like borders like when I get exhausted, may it be like, for example, from this one friend's negativity and neediness, or
Okay.
may it be borders when work becomes too much.
Okay.
These kinds of borders.
Got it.
Um,
Okay. Sorry, I was saying orders. It's borders. Got it.
no worries.
All right. So let's see. It's saying that other people have that it struggles with.
Well, it doesn't seem to trust me with establishing borders when I ignore my own border, like yeah, basically when I ignore them in myself, like within myself, like when I, out of being used to it, try to push through.
Okay. Okay. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, that does, because to be honest, I had, to be honest, for all of my life, as long as I can look back, I always had massive problems with admitting vulnerabilities to myself. Like anything vulnerable, I always had to like ignore, push through, keep going, instead of basically using the vulnerability to see, okay, there's a border that I could establish.
Okay. Okay. So when you're feeling vulnerable, and there are parts, or there's parts of you that are saying, hey, now is the time to have this border, have this boundary. And in the past, when you've pushed through that, or you've ignored that boundary, then this victim part is saying that's what what bothers it, that's its concern.
That's at least one of the concerns. I don't know about more concerns just yet, but that's at least one of them.
Okay.
Because,
and you're able to show it and let it know that that makes sense to you. I just wanted to check on if it was receiving that from you.
It was receiving that, and it asked me, okay, then what are you gonna do? And then my instinctual answer was, I want to start establishing boundaries. But with that also came up instantly another part, who I felt on the right side of my torso, that got scared shitless of establishing boundaries.
Yes. Okay. So I would just take a step back, and I hear that this part is curious about what you're going to do about it, and I would say that we want to just stay in our curious place to learn about this part, and so we're try to stay just curious and stay in that gathering information, rather than giving it the answer already. So any part of you that kind of wants to solve the problem, ask that to step back. And the more we can learn about these parts, the better we can formulate any type of plan later.
That's true.
So maybe you could ask more about, you said that was one of its concerns. maybe just ask more about its experience and what else has been hard for it, or just how it feels.
Well, basically, its experience for most of my life has been that the outside world would be bad, the victimizer, but with the trauma work from the last 2 years, it also more and more realizing that basically everything is inside of me. So it wants help from me.
Yeah.
Because in the outside world, no one is gonna help.
Yeah. And how do you respond to that?
I absolutely agree and want to help.
Great. Great. And does this part have concerns and fears about what would happen if it didn't speak up, if it didn't do its job in the way that it does?
Yeah, basically that I would get really sick, worst case. But yeah, basically get maybe really sick, maybe worst case even die or something because of just always having tried to, or having pushed through my boundaries as much as I could.
Right. Right. Being too exposed, being not. When you talked about boundaries, you talked about kind of protecting these vulnerabilities or acknowledging them. And it's saying if you never did that, that you would get annihilated, right?
Exactly.
Something like that. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Because in Madrid, basically at this vacation, it was like, how should I put it? They say that basically when let's say that parts get really loud, and that wasn't like the part being really loud anymore. That was basically like a hurricane. How active this part was.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, see if you can show it some appreciation for keeping you safe from that.
It appreciates my appreciation. Then it asked me, but why did you then ignore me when I already had to get so active? And well, the only honest answer was I couldn't do better. And how should I put it? It accepted it, not really willingly.
Yeah.
But it accepted it to at least some extent.
Yeah. Maybe you can just show it that right now this is you speaking directly to it, and that the more that you can foster this relationship with it, the easier it'll be for you not to ignore it in the future. And so
that's true.
You might apologize, or you might there is a reason revisit, what happened in the past, but you can also just let it know that through this practice, this is your attempt to get to know it, to open up that channel of communication, and understand it more clearly when it's speaking to you in the future.
It gladly accepts that, but with that then comes up another part that's also been subject in the last few conversations we had, the part that is like against forgiving myself.
Okay.
Like this feels like a whole separate part, and this, like in the sensation of this, I feel exactly in the middle of my chest.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we can address that if you want. Hey, you just turn to that part. Listen to it. And I guess I just want to kind of come out and say that that word forgiveness isn't really in my IFS vocabulary as far as what we're doing with parts is, again, it's not so much about how things went in the past. We might apologize, but our focus is building the communication, building the trust.
True.
And we can do that with every part. And so when I think about that as kind of the IFS journey of self-leadership, to me, that just word forgiveness doesn't really enter into my thinking about the process. So that doesn't mean I'm dismissing it or that I think you should dismiss it or anything, but I just want to kind of let you know where I'm coming from when I think about that word. And so you might just ask that part to tell you more about kind of what that looks like for it and what its concerns are, especially in relating to this work.
Basically, this part likes a lot what you just said, because how should I put it? Well, I don't know, because, but well, yeah, because being so used, let's say, to the I don't know, maybe it's the victim narrative, maybe it's the underdog narrative that's resulting out of this victimization structure in life. It's like, what do we do when it's that easy? Like, it can't be that easy.
Right. Yeah.
And basically, it being that easy, I never experienced that before in life. Then it's like the uncertainty that this easiness brings along.
Yeah. Let me ask, is there a feeling of maybe grief within that? A feeling of, well, if this was so easy, where have you been all my life? Kind of, is there some resentment or grief around that?
There's definitely resentment, grief, but there's also enjoyment of being an underdog.
Sure. Okay. And how are you feeling towards this part as you just sit with it and listen to it?
I notice I'm quite a bit blended with it, because on the one hand, I'm really sorry for it, and on the other hand, basically, it seems to me like this is the underdog, because with making it easy, it's like suddenly a massive fear of death just came over me. Because with making it easy, basically the underdog wouldn't have any reason for existence anymore.
Okay. So it needs that kind of, it needs some fear. It feels like it needs some fear of death, or it needs some pressure to perform in its
not
role.
fear of death, but yeah, pressure, like to have life not be easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it basically would be a perpetual underdog.
If there's one thing I think I can guarantee, it's that no matter how much IFS you do, I don't think life is ever going to be easy. You know what I mean? Like, we can work with our parts, we can understand our parts, but there will always be plenty of challenges, right? Especially for an empire builder.
That's true, yeah.
And this project, this mission is about getting your team together. It's about connecting the parts in you, leading the parts in you, building those relationships and those channels of communication, so that, who knows, so maybe you can face even bigger challenges, right? Maybe life gets more difficult, but it's because you've risen to that occasion. You have these parts, this new way of showing up that's less, self-conflicting, and it's more able to take on bigger challenges. So you can still be the underdog.
It likes that idea, but it openly doesn't trust me just yet to really like team up with the other parts.
Oh yeah, it's quite a process. But yeah, I mean, if you can listen to some of the calls I've done, or anybody who's done lots of IFS, and I don't know any of them who are saying, okay, well, everything's easy now. All my problems have gone away.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because one thing I also how should I put it? Because these with being aware of what I'm capable of doing, it always came easy to me, basically automatically, let's say, things in the outside world visualized. And with basically getting back more precisely to IFS with the call with you and therapy session this week and so on. Like for the first time this week, I actually then saw like a probable self of myself, like personally, in the future. Which I should put it on basically like because I see, like, for example, this part is underdog, like I would like to show what we potentially could have in future, not just in the outside, not just with business project, also us as a person, like the whole let's say the interpersonal relationship with the world.
Yeah, that makes sense. One way you can do that is, again, just kind of one part at a time. Parts can see how you work with other parts. So sometimes just by doing a bunch of work with one part, other parts kind of get the message that, there's a new game in town. There's a new way to work, and a lot of doors can start flying open in a good way and a bad way. So a lot of times, sometimes now they all need your attention. So, but yeah, it makes sense to me that you want to show these parts what you're capable of and what what that life would look like. It's also important just to make sure you're again staying curious about what their ideal roles are.
Mm.
You know. So we've talked about a lot of parts, and a lot of these parts, you know, I can't be for sure, but I definitely would detect probably some exile energy behind maybe a few of these parts.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been talking now for almost an hour, so it's your decision. It's your call if you would like to go forward with any of these parts now, or or however you would like to continue. Just let me know.
Yeah, I'm very curious about going forward with parts now. Because you said that you detected exile energy with a few of these parts, aside from the lonely part that came up as a suggestion early in the conversation. Which other parts did you also detect exile energy with?
Yeah, well, and I use kind of maybe some slippery language where I said I detected exile energy behind them, which you could argue maybe all parts have some exile energy behind them, but you know, maybe this part that's kind of against forgiving the self, that could be related, you know, to some kind of feelings of worthlessness, for example, or how can I forgive? I'm not good enough. That's just a hypothesis of mine that could be lingering somewhere around there. And
because this part not wanting to forgive myself, this underdog, because basically it didn't really continue conversation, but as we were talking about potential futures, it connected with how should I put it, with the general emperor energy and with the social optimistic part, also like being in this emperor energy, basically like a triangle of these three, and that visualized like how should I put it, like a hungry entrepreneurial like a visualization of let's say a hungry entrepreneurial situation, like where I'm just striving to basically create and dominate a market niche.
And that triangle is the emperor, the social optimistic part, and the underdog.
Exactly, this underdog who doesn't seem to want to forgive myself, or doesn't want to forgive myself.
Yeah. This might be a kind of a blunt question, but you might ask. You might just poll the room. You might ask all of these parts, how many of them have this same fear of loneliness behind them? How many of them feel like that same exile is a part of why they're working so hard?
Basically, all responded in unison, all of them, because after all those years, I basically left them alone on an emotional level. They don't want to be left alone again.
All right. Well, we got that unison we were looking for, at least start of it. Right? Yeah. So they're all kind of working for, and I'm sure they have lots of reasons why they do what they do, but it sounds like they're all united in that, protecting you in that way.
Because I should put it like because they especially got afraid then with the time as I was last week in Madrid, because this was basically like me getting teleported back to 2018. Just the difference being that while back then I was unconscious in self-hate, hating life, and so on and so forth, now basically while I couldn't be unblended, or while I couldn't be properly unblended from the way I lived back then, as his energy just pulled me back so hard, I still was luckily unblended enough that I could still see it all from the outside happening as I was, let's say, stuck in it.
You were able to see that kind of self-hate place.
Exactly. I was able to see everything in regards to this. And this scared all of my parts so much that the last days I was really out of alignment because of that compared to before the vacation. Because they're really afraid of life becoming like it was back then. And this was pretty much like back then, yeah. Just that I still luckily was unblended enough to to see it consciously as well, and now be able to integrate it with you.
And how are you feeling now just about the work we've done so far with each of these maybe more protective parts?
Amazing, appreciative, and of course a little bit saddened because I don't want to cause harm to anyone.
Yeah. And you say more about that? What's the concern of the harm you would cause to someone?
Not harm with the IFS work, but the harm basically that I unconsciously caused them so far for most of my life.
These parts?
Exactly, yeah. So basically the harm caused them prior to getting into IFS. And now, so in this way, this vacation to get into the optimistic part of me. Like in this way, for example, the vacation was amazing to now see from consciously how I really mistreated my parts in the past.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that feeling too. And I think it's really healing to just sit in that for a while and to be in that place with your parts where it's very sweet, it's optimistic, it's exciting, it's amazing. It's also sad. There's also like grief there.
Oh yeah.
And just to acknowledge that, the depth of that, and how, all the things that it may have affected over all the years, and just to kind of appreciate that with the parts, the momentousness of that. There's a lot of ways to kind of go through that as a ritual, that kind of dealing with that grief. But I think just committing to being with the parts and reconnecting with them. I'm curious how is your kind of personal practice when it comes to reconnecting with parts outside of our calls or work you do with
I think last time we were talking about that, basically I had noticed that I couldn't really be with myself at a last call without any outside guidance, like without, for example, course of you, without therapist, without guided meditations that are part of the books Richard Schwartz provides, and so on and so forth. So I had started then basically from one day to another to aside from the daily guided IFS meditation, that's like 15 minutes or so, to just sit with myself in silence with parts. But then I noticed that this sitting with myself in silence, because without outside guidance, I had a really hard time. Let's just say it was a hard time to unblend from parts. And so it basically slipped away over since our last call a bit from parts work. But basically this vacation, aside from showing me how life used to be, and basically also showed me that aside from the daily guided meditation, got a bit away from IFS in itself. So I started to re-listen again to the IFS therapy book, and also to more consciously use parts questions in meditation. And also I noticed now this week then in the completely alone meditation. So I'm just more conscious now about when I blend with parts. So basically, I can tell myself now easier to unblend, and I then, at least to some extent, actually unblend.
Great. Yeah, that sounds like very, very normal growing pains of, learning, figuring out what works and what doesn't as far as communicating with parts. Would you like kind of a suggestion that I was thinking of while you were?
Yeah, please.
Saying? Okay, so you mentioned sit in silence, and I don't know what your practice looks like, but I would suggest being proactive in, like we talked to a couple parts today. And I don't know if you've taken any notes, but you might just write down, the social optimistic part. Maybe there's a kind of a catchphrase that it has, or something else. Maybe there's a goal that it has, a desire that it has, and you just make a little. It could be 3 words that you write down about this part. Anything else that you feel like you've understood or learned from a part, or a part wants you to carry forward and to continue learning. And then when you go to do your parts work, make it intentional and proactive in that way where, rather than kind of just meditating and letting what shows up show up, which is very valuable, and that's a great practice also. To visit these parts intentionally, specifically. These are your new friends, and you're gonna text your new buddy. You're going to reach out to them and kind of remind them that you're still here, you're still listening. You remember the last thing we talked about. Just those little things you would do to build any new relationship. So I don't know if you're already doing that. I'm kind of saying that for you and anyone else who might be listening, of making sure that.
Basically, that's the way I had started initially, but that's basically how should I put it? That is just like a through guidance, but when I then switched to try to really fully rely on myself, it kind of then morphed a bit into this more of regular meditation, like work that I allowed to come up what came up with, and then engaged it.
Yeah, good.
But I definitely want to get back more into this this way of parts work, because in the beginning doing this guided, how to put it, I don't want to talk about efficiency when it's about inner work, but in the end it was more efficient.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite words to describe what we're doing here. I think this is the most efficient of inner work. So
absolutely,
yeah. All right. Well, yeah, I really encourage you to keep doing that. And yes, that other practice of letting parts come to you and just sitting in silence, that's also very valuable. And if certain days, or right now, this period in your life or whatever, that doesn't feel like it's, you're not handling that, or it doesn't, you blend too much, that's fine. Well, you'll get back to that another time. That'll come.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I would like to bookmark particularly this exile that we've kept talking about, and suggest that we talk about that another time. Not that we have to ever talk about it, but
sure, please, let's talk about it the next time.
Yeah, and again, there won't be any pressure to talk about it next time. I just want to let you know that, again, we've talked a lot, we've covered a lot of ground, and I'm not sure that I'm confident in going forward right now into exile territory. So, but I'd like to with you, and I hope you book some more time, or find someone to do that with.
I definitely will book some more time then, basically right after we finish the call.
Great. And if I know we're on very different time zones, so if nothing is open or none of it works for you, just let me know and I'll find some more time for you.
Perfect, I will do.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much. Thanks to all your parts.
I have to thank you again, and my parts are thanking you as well.
My pleasure. I hope to hear from you soon.
You too. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Do you want to help bring more self-energy to the world? If you'd like to participate in calls or help out with this project in any way, I'd love to hear your ideas. Join the Discord server or contact me at james@liveifs.com. A huge thanks to our audio engineer, Yvonne, for your care and diligence in editing the calls. To every caller for your courage in sharing some of your parts. And to anyone out there getting to know their internal system, keep going. Who knows, that might be the most selfless, helpful thing you can do for others, and you're the only one who can do it. If you'd like to see us reach the largest audience, we must please the almighty suggestion algorithms at iTunes and YouTube. And they don't care about the power of IFS. They're looking for likes and shares and comments, and the sooner the better. Follow the links in the show notes right here in your podcast player to make your wishes known. And now, a minute of meditation. Or if you prefer, pull over. You can do it in 60 seconds. Just click one of those links. They're right there, and give us a like or a 5-star rating. It would really help. If you think this project is helping people, you're helping people by sharing it. Thank you.